Alrighty. So, hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to make this video addressing a question that people have, which is, and as some of you already know, I've been out of the US just traveling for a couple months, and people are asking, because I'm showing so much excitement about being out in Colombia right now, people are asking if I'm ever going to come back. Am I staying in Colombia permanently? Am I going to go back to Texas? Like, how long is this vacation for? And first of all, I just want to address a few things. First of all, I see a lot of people saying like, oh, like, so what are you going to do when you run out of money? What are you going to do when you run out of things to do? What are you going to do? And the thing is that, like, I think a lot of people don't understand why I left the US for a few months and like why I'm so excited. And like, it's not because I'm on vacation. Like, yeah, it feels like vacation, but people think that I'm like taking a break from working, and so like I left the US so that I can take a break from working, and then I'm like, oh, I'm on vacation, I don't want to come back, and I'm like burning through all my savings. And I just want to tell you that couldn't be farther from the truth. I'm gonna put a few things into perspective here, showing you how leaving the US has not only saved me money, it has made me more money. And I'm just going to explain to you in a second. First of all, when I was living in the US, and I had spent a few years in Texas, and I love Texas. Texas is actually great compared to the rest of the country. Lower property tax, not lower property taxes, but lower, no state income tax, no state corporate tax, lower regulations. It's just like a freer place. Property was cheaper when I started buying. And I just needed like a Hail Mary. Like, I needed a place to lay roots because I was struggling. I was living in DC, and I was like having these jobs that were paying so little, and all of my money was going to rent and cost of living and everything. And so Texas was kind of like the first place where I was able to actually start buying real estate and leveraging my jobs to get loans and stuff like that. But I wasn't coming in there with like a lot to begin with, and it took a while until my real estate properties too started making money. And so it started off with one, living in one room, renting out the other rooms. Eventually found another place, started renting that place while I was renting the other place. But the cost of living in Texas has gone up so dramatically because of all the changes going on in the US and all the people moving to Texas. So like all these people from California, from New York, from like all these like big cities, Washington, DC, like all these people were like fleeing to Texas within the span of like 2 years. And so the capacity of all that happening so fast caused the prices to go up like very dramatically while I was there, which was great because like the value of my properties went up so fast, so quickly and dramatically. But it also made it very hard for me because all of a sudden everything just became more expensive, right? Like the cost of labor, people working on those properties. People just want to make more. Businesses, they're charging more money to work in my properties. Cleaning people, charging more money. And, I took an extra restaurant job in order to like offset some of those costs, but everything was going up. The price of gas, like of stuff with Russia, Ukraine, and then, Biden regulations. It's like everything is just going up. They want to raise the minimum wage. That's going to go up even more, It's like everything is going up. And I remember like right before I came here, going to a juice bowl place right near my place, which wasn't even an expensive area. It's like an emerging area of Dallas, and going there and seeing an acai bowl being sold for $16 US for a little tiny acai bowl that wasn't even so good. And so that's when I was thinking like, wow, this is a breaking point. Like, because I was making a certain amount from working as a restaurant waitress, and being a restaurant waitress, it could be fun, but it's also very hard. You're spending a lot of hours working all day, collecting tips, collecting dollars here and there, pennies, and sometimes there's double shifts, and it's not like if you're running rentals or you're doing any kind of business, it's not like you can take out your phone and talk to people and figure things out. It's a very stressful sort of situation because you can't even call anybody or do anything until you leave. You can't use your phone. They're going to yell at you. They're going to say, hey, why aren't you, you can't even stand around. Why aren't you working? Keep moving. You know what I mean? And so I was kind of living this life where I was making a certain amount for my rental, but not enough to offset all the costs that were going up. And and also I was living in one of the places. I wasn't renting that second place out. And so then I made the calculation and realized that if I were to quit my restaurant job and rent out the second place, I would make more money from the rental than if I would have just stayed there and stayed working at the restaurant. Could you imagine the prices of everything going up so high that I was able to make more money leaving, renting out that place, than staying and working? For me, that was a good decision. Not everybody. If you're working in tech, if you're working in a really great industry that is shooting, skyrocketing, if you're working in real estate and you're successful, if you're a little more advanced in your career, you're a little more established, then continuing to stay there and work is going to be actually good for you. But for me, it would have made me go bankrupt because I was just seeing the debt just piling on every month. And so this is what I mean when I say leaving. It wasn't just saving me money, it was making me money. I made money by leaving. And so now I don't have all these costs of living, because the cost of living abroad is tiny fraction. And the other funny thing is that the US dollar, the value of the US dollar keeps going up very fast also. So for example, when I got to Colombia, the cost of the $1 US got you maybe 3,700 Colombian pesos. I think it's 3,700. So maybe 3,700 to 4,000 Colombian pesos was $1 US. Now, today, 4,700 Colombian pesos to $1 US. That means that just by staying out of the US, but using American dollars abroad, I'm making more and more and more money. Does that make sense? Sometimes you have to be strategic, and working harder is not necessarily going to make you more money. And so when I say leaving made me more money, that's what I mean. And when I see people saying, oh, you're going to run out of money if you're going to leave. If you're going to leave the US, you're going to run out of money. To me, I'm thinking, you don't understand my situation. You don't understand, that leaving for some of us is literally making us money. And with all this extra time that I have, because I'm not working, with all this extra time, and I'm working in, calling up contractors, calling up builders, stuff like that. Come do this, come do that, work at the property. I'm able to actually spend money on the people that I'm hiring in the US, because it's not all going to the cost of my food and, cost of living. And so I'm able to actually pay people more than what other people are paying them to do work on my properties. And so but then I also have all this extra time that I'm not working at a restaurant, I'm not working for anybody, to work on my new other business ideas, whether it is looking for more real estate rentals around the world, cracking different ideas, whether it's learning about new businesses, whether it's working on a new app that I'm thinking about. So it doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back. It just means that for now, and it is, for now it's temporary. This is the best situation. And so people asking if I'm going to come back, I still think that Texas is a hub. Texas, Dallas is a hub. It's 300 or 400 million people in the US aren't going to move out overnight. They're going to stay in the US, and most likely what's going to happen is they're going to all gravitate towards Dallas, Houston, basically Texas and other like similar kind of states with similar laws. That's what's gonna happen, in my opinion. I think what's gonna happen in the next few years is the property values are gonna keep going up in Texas. And so that's why I'm also working on an investment project in Dallas. Even though I'm like just physically not in Dallas, I'm still working on an investment project in Dallas. My primary home is still in Dallas. Like my things are still in my home in Dallas. I didn't move it out. You know, people are renting and coming in and out, but it's still my home. I'm still getting mail. And as Americans, we can do that, you know. And then the funny thing is, as Americans, even if I were to take all my things out and declare that I'm like not living in the U.S. and that I'm like permanently away from the U.S. until the day I die, I'm still gonna have to keep filing taxes every year. I'm still gonna have to pay taxes and like abide by IRS laws, even if I never step foot in the U.S. again. So for me, because I'm not planning to renounce my citizenship, it's worth it for me to keep operating in the U.S., to keep having a primary home in the U.S., to keep coming back and working on projects in the U.S. for now. But just I don't have to physically be there the whole time. You know, it doesn't make a difference for me, and it doesn't make a difference for the government because I'm still paying my taxes. I'm still keeping on top of my duties as an American. So, like, you know, for all the people that are saying that, like, oh, it's like unpatriotic that you're like going and living in another country, you're praising your life in another country. It's like, you know what? I'm building in the U.S. I'm doing everything that I could possibly do to make things, to improve things in the U.S., paying my taxes, whatever. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that I have to suffer. It doesn't mean that I have to live a life that's like shitty, you know? Like, I think other people can do that too. You can be a good American. You know, you don't have to renounce your citizenship necessarily. You can still benefit in some ways, and still like stay officially living in the U.S. Keep your primary residence. You know, keep your things there. Keep going back there, living there. You know, for part of the year. So that's where I'm at right now. And so, no, I'm not gonna declare like primary residence, you know, my tax residence in another country. Nope. If that's what people are asking, that is not what I'm gonna do. You know, there's certain laws that make it like that. It's like important for people that travel a lot to know, which is like what I'm learning about. I'm learning about ways to save money on taxes, you know, or ways to, you know, just make sure that like I'm covering all my bases. But it doesn't mean that I have to physically be there all the time. And there are plenty of Americans that aren't. But anyway, so hope that answered some of your questions, and I will see you guys in the next video. And oh my God, I want to show you guys this coffee shop, but it's like a lot of people, so I don't want to like dox everybody in here, but it's a really nice coffee shop, and it's a little more expensive than like the other coffee shops in Bogota, but it's still kind of like, it's still pretty cheap compared to the US, like compared to like a place like this that you would find in the US. And yeah, anyway, so I'll see you guys later.